This is Andi Purewal, Boxing Social in association with Betfred. It's Fight Week in New York and I'm joined by Eddie Hearn. Eddie, firstly, how are you?
I'm very well, Andy. How are you? Delighted to be here. Very excited. Just arrived and ready to go.
Good to hear that you're up for it, Eddie. Now, when we walked over from the fight hotel, I was wondering if you'd get spotted by anyone and ask for a photo on the walk to the Empire State Building. You didn't get a single photo.
I did. Some bloke called me Tommy Hearns. He went, Tommy Hearns! I was like, no, but thank you. Yeah. So, excited for this week. Massive event. You just saw at Empire State Building. They're going to light up Empire State Building on Saturday night with the Irish and Puerto Rican flags. You saw the media there. You know, maybe the biggest fight I've ever been involved with. By the time this comes around on Saturday, the whole world media are here, and thank you to Boxing Social to join us.
Thank you, Eddie, for having us out here. Why do you see this as biggest fight, or potentially the biggest fight that you've been involved in? Not that it can't be, just because of some of the fights you've put on, especially over the last few years.
Every fight's different. You know, when Canelo Alvarez broke and Billy Joe Saunders broke the attendance record in America for that fight, that was massive. Joshua Klitschko, this is very different. You know, I just feel like this is a moment that will be remembered forever in boxing history, and not just that, but in sport in general. And I'm very proud of Katie Taylor. You know, I think when you look at what she's done to break down these barriers, to be up there, you've got to understand, when you're personally invested in a journey and you're seeing the Empire State Building being lit up in the Irish colours for Katie Taylor on Saturday night, you know, we're at, I think, 14,000 so far. We're going to sell this place out on Saturday night. It feels really good, and sometimes you can fall out of love a little bit with the sport because of the politics and everything, and when it goes like this, it's inspiring. It really is. And I think it's inspiring for the next generation, not just the female fighters, but female athletes and athletes in general, to show you that anything's possible. If you believe in yourself, if you have a goal and you work hard enough, you can get to these levels. And it feels massive, and it's Tuesday.
I know it's been spoken openly about Taylor Serrano being the biggest fight in female boxing history. Where can it go beyond this, beyond Saturday night?
Where can
female boxing in general, beyond this, how much bigger can it be?
This paves the way for other mega fights in the sport. There'll never, I don't know if we're going to get another Taylor Serrano in the next couple of years, but it shows you that females can headline major events with huge crowds. You know, these mega fights, both girls earning 7 figures for this fight, right? And that shows you, it shows female fighters again, the method behind the madness of saying it is possible. So many great fights out there to be made. Baumgardner against Mayer, Savannah Marshall against Clarissa Shields. There's loads of them in different divisions, and it's showing you and showing broadcasters there's a way. These two girls were on the Today Show this morning. It's the biggest show in America. I've been trying to get fights on there for years. Those two are doing a 5-6 minute segment live to America this morning. This is groundbreaking stuff. People are invested in it. People are buying into it. The Garden, the Zone, us. But the great thing about this fight, Andy, is a lot of people in female sport, women's sport, are doing it because they feel like it's something they should do. This fight stands on its own as a mega fight in its own right. Forget female boxing. Just a massive fight. The undisputed lightweight world champion against a 7-division world champion. This is Mayweather against Pacquiao of women's boxing, but in their prime. And it shows all these people what is possible. And these female athletes got to be looking at this right now and saying, I tell you what, I can do this. And they should all be thanking Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. But Katie Taylor's been the trailblazer for years and years.
Come Saturday night, Eddie, the one thing people have spoken about is obviously Amanda moving up in weight quickly over the last couple of fights. Granted, the Gutierrez fight was closer to lightweight, but her last championship fight was down at feather. How much of an impact do you think the weight difference will make come fight night?
Not a big. I mean, if you see the head-to-heads, they look very similar in size. Serrano, I think, has boxed as heavy as 140 before. I don't think Katie's a big lightweight at all, so I don't think the size is going to make a big difference. I think the quality is going to make a big difference, and I think Katie Taylor's going to stop her on Saturday night. I've seen her in camp, I've seen the tenacity and the fire that's inside her for this fight. I just believe she's going to stop her late in this fight. I think we're going to get a thrilling fight, and I expect a very dangerous Amanda Serrano, particularly early in the fight. But I don't think size matters in this fight. I just expect Katie to be too strong, too fast, and too good.
Just one other fight on this card I want to touch on, because I'm going to grab you throughout the week, Eddie, so we've got to try and save some stuff. Liam Smith, Jesse Vargas, one which everybody's looked forward to, but maybe hasn't had, not necessarily a build-up, but nobody's been talking about. Why would you say that?
Because of Taylor Serrano. Like Jesse Vargas, I posted yesterday to say Jesse Vargas against Liam Smith is big enough to headline any of our shows in the US or in the UK, and it's co-main event to Taylor Serrano. Throw in Cederos against Cruz Dezern, throw in Galal Yafai, throw in Sky Nicholson, throw in Ammo in a great fight as well. This is such a great card, and Liam Smith against Jesse Vargas is a absolute cracker of a fight, and I think Liam Smith has got the bit between his teeth. I just saw Jesse Vargas down there. You should interview him. He's bang up for this fight. I've seen Nonito Daenerys in the corner as well, and he's worked quietly in this camp, and I'll tell you that is going to be a thriller.
I know previously that there was talks about trying to make sure that the main event here doesn't clash with Stevenson Valdez. It
doesn't matter. No one's talking about Valdez against Stevenson. It's a great fight. Trust me when I say the eyes of the world will be on Madison Square Garden. They can do what they want. We set this fight first. They can work around us if they want, and they will, because we want to actually go as early as possible for the UK and Irish market. We want you to tune in from the UK. Don't forget, this is part of your DAZN subscription. This fight would have been pay-per-view on Sky. Trust me, because it's been talked about for a long time. Next week, you've got Canelo Bivol. You're subscribing for these two mega fights here. And we want to make it as early as possible for the UK and Irish audience. So we want to put Galal Yafai out somewhere around midnight on Saturday night. Then you've got Jesse Vargas going to be in the ring with Liam Smith about 1:30, something like that, 1:45, and then Taylor Serrano somewhere around 2:45, 3 a.m. would be perfect, so that UK and Irish fight fans can enjoy a great night of boxing.
So obviously, of those times you wouldn't imagine it to clash, but did you have actual discussions with top ranked?
No, because at the end of the day, our fight was set. We're doing what we're doing. I told everyone before, this fight is much bigger. Look at the media, look at the interest. No one's talking about that fight, and it's a great fight. I'm not saying it's not a great fight, but ESPN chose, Top Rank were naive enough to think that, it's only a women's fight. You heard Bob Arum's comments. It's only a women's fight. No one cares about women's boxing. Well, watch how many people are at Valdez Stevenson on Saturday, watch how many people are in Madison Square Garden on Saturday, and watch the world stop to watch women's boxing on Saturday night.
Away from this, can go back to this past weekend, Eddie. Your charge, somebody you've worked with, Dillian-Whyte, fell short in his world title challenge against Tyson Fury, stopped in the 6th round with that uppercut. Just your initial reaction to that fight?
It was frustrating. I feel like Dillian-Whyte, it's not a lost opportunity, because Tyson Fury boxed perfectly, really, for that fight. I thought it was quite a scrappy fight, and then Tyson delivered a beautiful uppercut to knock him out and win the fight. And I felt like Dillian should have done more in the fight, but difficult when you're up against someone as difficult as Tyson Fury. I felt that sometimes in the fight week build-up, it was all a bit friendly, almost like too respectable. And I felt like Dillian needed to be a little bit more aggressive in the fight, but hard to do. We said the same thing, didn't we, with Anthony Joshua against Usyk. So, fair play to Tyson Fury, great victory.
What was Dillian's approach, Eddie? Do you know how he actually wanted to try and take the fight?
But I think that what he needed to do was let his hands go more and close down the distance and let his hands go, hit the body, hit the shoulders, hit anywhere. It just felt a little bit friendly. But look, saying that, Dillian will feel like he was getting into the fight. It was only 5 rounds down, but I didn't really give him any rounds, maybe 1 round in the fight, and Tyson Fury was dictating the fight.
We've seen Dillian's comments since about the uppercut, which then was followed by a push, shall we go, from Tyson, what he deems to be a push. What were your thoughts on it? Because he was saying that he feels like he should have been given a bit more time to recover on the back of that.
I think he was badly hurt from the uppercut. The push was, the push was blatant, and did it make a difference? I don't know. I don't think so. But yeah, he shouldn't have pushed him over. But he was hurt and he was staggered, and when he got up, he was out. He said he hit his head on the floor, I think, when he went down. But I don't think it changed the process of the fight. But it was a foul, that's for sure.
You've spoken openly in the past about how good of a fighter Tyson is, but you believe your man Anthony Joshua would always have had the edge if I was to meet. From what you saw, the version you saw on Saturday, granted we don't know if he will retire or not, but Do you feel he's slowed down, or do you see any weaknesses in his own performance?
I don't think that he wants to get hit. I don't think he wants to engage. It doesn't make him a bad fighter. It makes him a clever fighter. But he never looked like he wanted to engage at all with Dillian-Whyte, and I don't blame him. He was holding a hell of a lot. He was grabbing hold of him, walking him back to ropes, but it's all clever stuff. It's boxing on the outside, it's hit and not getting hit. So I've always felt that Anthony Joshua can beat Tyson Fury, and I still stand by that today. But right now, Tyson Fury is very close with him and Usyk because of the AJ win. But, you've got to say that's the pecking order. And AJ's got to come back and he's got to beat Alexander Usyk. If he does, and I believe he can do that as well, then he can come back and he can fight Tyson Fury. And I believe he can beat him as well. But it's just me saying it. People will say, oh, shut up, Hearn. But this is what I believe. And I believe styles make fights. I believe AJ can beat Tyson Fury. And I think that fight will happen, whether it's for undisputed, whether it's in 2 years' time. I truly believe we'll see that fight at some point.
Do you think Tyson retires on the back of Saturday?
No. But Tyson's best times are in front of him. He may be in his prime right now. Sugar Hill's done an amazing job, and I think Tyson Fury is the best version of Tyson Fury he's ever been. And everyone talks about him being a generational great heavyweight. He hasn't got a resume of a generational great. Now, if he goes and beats Usyk or beats AJ or both of them, you can put him down as one of the great heavyweights of all time. You can put him in the league of Lennox Lewis and other great heavyweights as well. But not by beating Deontay Wilder and Vladimir Klitschko and Dillian-Whyte. Because if you do that, you've got to put AJ up there with his resume. But anyway, it doesn't matter because he's flavour of the month at the moment. We've got to work away behind the scenes, as AJ's doing. He's got to bounce back and he's got to come back and he's got to win these fights.
Before I do come on to AJ, you had a FaceTime with Tyson the day after. What did he have to say to you?
I don't know, I couldn't really hear it. He was like screaming, and I was in a restaurant as well, and I was just saying well done. He phoned me a few times. I think he was trying to get AJ as well, and he was just having fun. I respect Tyson Fury. I like Tyson Fury. There's a lot of backwards and forwards, but I do respect him as a man and as a heavyweight. And I know he knows I'm the best promoter in the world.
Do you regret not maybe pushing harder to sign him when he made his initial comeback, when you look at where he's got to now?
I don't have any regrets in life, Andy. But I made a decision at the time that I didn't feel that he would come back from the condition he was in, the position he was in, and he proved me wrong. And he's proved me wrong on so many occasions. I didn't feel like he would beat Vladimir Klitschko. I didn't feel like he would beat Deontay Wilder the first time. I didn't believe he could knock out Dillian-Whyte. He's done all of those things. So Tyson Fury continues to prove me wrong, and I have to give him the credit and respect of being a great heavyweight. And I do that, and the way he's come back to that position is admirable. I just believe AJ can beat him.
Where does Dillian go from Saturday night?
I think he's got to regroup. He's made a hell of a lot of money, but he'll want to try and get himself in a position to fight for the world heavyweight title again. He got beat by, arguably, or not arguably, the number one heavyweight in the world right now. And, Dillian can come again, for sure. There's some great fights out there for him.
Usyk-AJ 2, what's the latest, Eddie? I saw you said for July 23rd's the ideal date.
It's one of the dates. So we're finalising the date at the moment. We're not far away now, but definitely in July. And we'll have the date and venue for you in due course.
I've asked you about it before in terms of how AJ needs to approach it. How confident are you from what you've spoken to him about that when that first bell rings, he doesn't revert back to what we saw in the first fight?
He won't revert. He knows that he approached the fight wrongly. But it's all very well. When we talk about Dillian-Whyte and we say he should have closed the distance, he should have done... These are all the things we said AJ should have done. Sometimes the opponent doesn't allow you to do that. So what AJ's got to do is switch up his style, be more aggressive. Everyone knows that, but he's got to be smart as well. And I think that, he can do it. I really believe he can win this fight. He believes he can win this fight, and we can't wait to get it made.
Just one thing I forgot to ask about Dillian. What did you make of him coming out as southpaw in that first round?
Surprised me. Well, I thought he boxed quite nicely. I actually thought it was his best round. So, yeah, it was interesting. I don't know, I've never seen that before. But, yeah, interesting.
So you got Jake Paul here this week, Eddie. People have spoken about a potential fight between him and Tommy Fury. Tommy fought on that undercard. Don't know whether you caught it or not, but what would be your thoughts now on back of Tommy's most recent
fight? I think that Jake Paul's the favourite in that fight, but it's a good fight. And Tommy Fury's learning, but he's still a decent fighter. He's not going to go and win titles, but it's a 50-50 fight. I give Jake Paul the edge in that fight. The thing is. I think Jake knows, who's just arrived, it's really the only big fight for Tommy Fury, that can get him that kind of money. So you can talk to him in a minute.
Joyce-Parker announced. I take it on the back of the Chisora fight, Joe's deal with yourselves came to an end?
Yeah, we didn't have a deal with Joe. We've looked at some fights for him, but I think it's the right fight to take. I mean, I don't think it's a great fight for Joe Parker, but there's not really been the other fights out there for him. So I believe that's July 2nd, is it, Wembley or something like that? So it's a good fight, and I don't know what happens in that fight. I think Joe Joyce may be a slight favourite, but it's an interesting fight.
All right, Eddie, final words to yourself. Anything you'd like to say to everyone?
See you tomorrow and Thursday and Friday and Saturday, and tune into DAZN. Sign up to DAZN for an unbelievable 2 weeks. Taylor Serrano, Liam Smith against Jesse Vargas, Sedarus against Cruz DAZN, Galauya fight, and of course next weekend Canelo against Bivol. Don't miss it.
Eddie, you're going to see me for the next 2 weeks. Never mind just this week.